Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. Mrs. Hilbrick, will you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Councilman De La Garza.
Present.
Councilwoman Solis.
Here.
Councilman Crocker.
Here.
Councilwoman Scott.
Here.
Councilman Lofgren. And Mayor Bachnight.
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Young will not be joining us this evening.
If everyone will please rise for the pledges, followed by a moment of silence. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Garza. Do you have some announcements and/or reminders?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I sure do. Obviously, with the holidays right around the corner, we have several updates because of it. All city non-emergency offices will be closed on Monday and Tuesday, December 25th and 26th in observance of Christmas. Offices will reopen at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, December 27th. Offices will close again on Monday, January 1st in observance of New Year's Day. Offices will reopen at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd. The Victoria Public Library will be closed December 25th and 26th and January 1st as well. And the Riverside Golf Course will be closed on Christmas Day, but open on January 1st. One of the most, I think, impactful services around the holidays, of course, is from Environmental Services. And so we have quite a bit of information that we want to put out there from them. Garbage and curbside recycling scheduled for Monday, December 25th will be collected on Saturday, December 23rd. Yard waste will not be collected December 25th through the 30th to accommodate the extra garbage collection services that we'll offer that week. Residents who have extra garbage from the holiday season that does not fit into the provided bin may place the excess garbage in standard trash cans or in plastic trash bags, and the excess garbage will be picked up on the regularly scheduled garbage collection days. You may recall that we also pick up live Christmas trees, and those will be collected on residents' regularly designated yard waste collections days beginning Tuesday, January 2nd. Stands, lights, ornaments, and other artificial materials must be removed from the tree. Garbage and curbside recycling normally picked up on Monday, January 1st, will be picked up on Saturday, December 30th. Don't ask me to repeat that again. We, of course, are putting that information out throughout our social media as much as possible. And we'll continue to do that throughout the holiday season. With the new year coming up, of course, it's a big year for us with the bicentennial. And so we also want to remind the public that as part of that celebration, we will be having historic memorabilia displays at City Hall throughout the year. And we continue to seek out items that celebrate our multicultural heritage to be displayed in January and February of 2024. The city is also seeking residents to interview for Victoria Stories, a video series about experiences and memories of life in Victoria. To submit an application to be interviewed or to share memorabilia and to stay up to date with plans for the bicentennial year, we ask the public to visit victoriatx200.com. And lastly, under reminders, the City of Victoria's Convention Visitors Bureau will host its inaugural New Year's Eve fireworks show on December 31st at the Riverside Park Special Events Area, which is near the parking lot of Riverside Stadium. Residents will be able to visit food trucks and vendors starting at 6 p.m., and the fireworks show will begin at 9 p.m. with prime viewing areas within Riverside Stadium. And so we'll be opening up the stadium for people to sit actually in the stadium to be able to watch the fireworks that will fly off of the golf course. This, of course, is also part of our kicking off our bicentennial celebration, and we hope that it's a successful event so that we can explore doing it every New Year's Eve moving forward, especially going into our bicentennial year. So we hope everybody can come out to that. And those are all the announcements and reminders that I have.
Great, thank you. We'll go into public and employee recognition.
So the first item is item 2A. B2A, which is recognition of an outgoing Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation board member. So council and staff would like to recognize Bill Blanchard for his service on the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation Board of Directors. Mr. Blanchard began serving as a board member of the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation Board of Directors in 2020 and completes his appointment this year. Mr. Blanchard served as the president of VSTDC throughout his time on the board and done a great job of leading that board. The city appreciates your willingness to serve your community, sir, and presents you with this plaque in appreciation of your time, service, and leadership.
You're welcome to say a few words.
Thank the council for their support over the last 5 years. I think Victoria is starting to change for the better. So we saw a lot of progress back in the 80s, but we did a lot of the public programs and support of things like the housing developments and the port and the airport and those kind of things really have kind of been stagnant over the years. And I'm really proud of the fact that over the past 5 years, we've been able to come up with a few new ideas and make a few necessary changes in the way we spend the Sales Tax Corporation's money. Of course, we haven't strayed too far. We still fix the roads and fix the sewers and do a lot of things like that. But I think some of the more creative things we've done to match state funds, match local funds, have been helpful to the city. And I hope you've seen the change. I thank the council because we've come to you with new and different ideas, and you've been very supportive. And I think I want to thank Mayor Jeff Balknight and looking back to Raleigh McCoy. Raleigh really changed the way we think about economic development in our community. He thought about it very diversity, including all the areas in Victoria, the region. I know the Economic Development Corporation's done a really great job with our encouragement to make it more of a regional organization. And I want to thank Jonas Titus for leading that charge. So it's a team effort. And I hope the council and Sales Tax Corporation carry on with a lot of the projects that we've initiated so far. And thank you for allowing me to serve.
Mr. Blanchard, let me tell you a wholehearted thank you. You were a great steward of Sales Tax Development Corporation, a great leader for it for the past 5 years. We've gotten a lot of great things accomplished because of your leadership and your persistence, whether it's our plan of work that's all laid out for us to keep following, the regionalization of VEDC. You also serve on VEDC's board as president of Sales Tax Development Corporation. You've been instrumental in helping them reshape and reform how they are. You've done a great honor to your community and a great service to your community, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Balknight.
Mr. Garza, do you have one more?
I do, yes, sir. So I do want to recognize an employee, our one and only Cheryl Marthojani, our HR director. I'm going to ask her to stand up because, she should. Yeah. But she recently graduated from the Texas State University's William P. Hobby Center for Public Service with her Texas Certified Public Manager, or CPM, certification on December 4, 2023. This program is a 7-course sequence which leads to a nationally accredited public manager certification. Each track is designed to meet the standards established by the National CPM Consortium. This program is an investment in time for any student. Cheryl began her journey during the spring 2021 semester and graduated this month in the fall of 2023. The CPM program is a systematic training program to enhance the quality and efficiency of management in government and to improve professionalism and effectiveness of government managers. And first of all, congratulations and thank you for your commitment to professional development and specifically in wanting to diversify, your experience and your knowledge beyond, HR. We obviously talk about employees that, are invested in themselves, but in our organization as well, and Cheryl is one of them. Having gone through the CPM certification myself, I know that it's something that requires a lot of commitment and time because it does take, easily a couple of years to complete. And so kudos to you, Cheryl, and thank you again for your commitment to professional development and for your commitment to our organization. So thank you.
Great.
That's it.
All right, we'll open up from items from council. I know Mr. Lofgren has a very appropriate one.
I'd like to recognize the Parks Department for their great work on the dog park, duck pond. These are two wonderful things for Victoria. Proud of both of them. Proud of the great job.
I echo that. And just, if anybody hasn't gone out there yet, the duck pond and the dog park are fully open now. They're not 100% complete. There's some minor things, but it won't stop the people's enjoyment of those locations. And they, long-time projects, and they look beautiful out there. So thank you to the Parks Department. Anybody else have anything tonight?
Well, it being the last meeting of the year, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, especially to the staff who just are outstanding. Thank you. And for you guys, that, we're all here, and for, your commitment to your service to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Solis. Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone. With that, we'll go into citizens' communication. Mr. Stephen Rogers.
Hi, for those of y'all that I have not met yet, my name is Stephen Rogers, and I'm here today because I've applied for a position on the Sales Tax Corporation. I would like to first off start off by thanking all for all of your service. It's part of the reason why I decided to step up to the plate, and the encouragement from Mr. Blanchard helped out quite a bit as well. That being said, a little quick rundown on who I am. I'm a lifelong Victorian, outside of a few years in college and earning an MBA in San Antonio and practicing commercial real estate. I then ran into my wife, and 15 years ago, we decided that we were going to move back to Victoria to start and raise a family. We are a part of the Rogers Pharmacy business. I've been working there for 15 years. We are invested in the economic development and the future of Victoria. We're not going anywhere. And I would like to be able to lend some of my experience in helping run that business to promote the development, the economic development of Victoria. And I appreciate y'all's consideration. And I, wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Von der Rohe.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Michael Von der Rohe. I live at 2204 East North Street. I wanted to thank the 3-member beautification team. They cleaned up 1302 East Rio Grande. A lot of homeless people were living there, and they trashed it all up. I don't mind them being homeless and living there. Just clean up your trash, And the police came and they picked up like 20 bags of trash. And I just wish, that they would keep it clean. But I realize they won't. So they're going to have to monitor them every week. And I live in my trailer park. I had a gas leak, and it's on the trailer park owner's property, and he refuses to fix it. And, he's a personal injury attorney, and he makes about $400 an hour, and he refuses to fix the gas leak, even though by law he's required to. So I have electric heater and taking a cold shower, and I do not plan on paying for it. I plan on him paying for it. And there's plumbing leaks on trailer 18, and he's not taking care of them. And there's potholes all over the trailer park on both sides, and he's not taking care of them. And his plumbers, Sunshine Plumbers, they left a whole bunch of dirt pile between trailer 18 and trailer 19 a month ago, and they don't want to take care of it. And also, I call Sunshine Plumbing. That's the plumbing group he uses, and they were supposed to come and look at my gas leak, and they still hadn't done anything, and I'm glad I don't live in Chicago. I probably wouldn't be here. Thank God I live in Victoria, where it only gets in the 30s, but I do expect him to fix the potholes, and if he don't, maybe code enforcement can cite him and stuff. I don't know if there's specific codes on potholes, but they're very serious, and he don't want to take care of it. And this been going on for 5 years. It's nothing new, and there's no excuse because he's been running trailer parks for 20 years, and I don't know if he runs the other trailer parks like that, like this. And when I have talked to him, he has threatened to evict me, and it's illegal for him to evict me or anything else. That's called retaliation. And I wish he would take care of it and do his job. Thanks, and have a good afternoon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Vonderon. I do have one other. Ms. McShaffrey was going to be here. She had a death in the family today, so she asked if I could just read this for her, and I'm going to read it straight what she sent me, and it's really small on my phone, so bear with me. Hello, and thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. My name is Sherry McShaffrey, and I have submitted my application for appointment to the board of the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation. I'm a native Victorian, born and raised here. I graduated from Victoria High School and went on to further my education at Texas A&M University with a degree in accounting. After graduating, I went to work at one of the big 6 accounting firms in Houston, KPMG, as a financial auditor. While working in the public accounting firm, I earned my CPA and have maintained my license ever since. After a few years, I moved to a private sector and worked for over 25 years for a real estate development company as their controller and a financial statement manager, where my primary responsibilities were to prepare the financial statement of the company, prepare and work within budgets, as well as work with financial auditors and sales tax auditors from various states. Over the past years, I have served in various capacities on boards and charitable organizations. Oh, and I also raised 3 kids, 2 of which are Aggies and 1 by heart. In 2021, my father, Elton Calhoun, unexpectedly passed away, and I returned to Victoria to run our family business, Regional Steel, a company that has been in business in Victoria for over 40 years. My father was a well-known community leader that everyone could count on, and I hope to follow in his footsteps. In March of this year, my husband and I purchased Aerocrafters, further making a commitment to Victoria, to make Victoria our permanent home. Over the past 2.5 years, I've been an active member in the Chamber of Commerce and VEDC. Earlier this year, I was asked to become a board member for the Chamber of Commerce, which I gladly accepted. I am interested in this board position as I have seen a surge of positive activity that is being initiated through the efforts of the VEDC, the Chamber, and various other organizations to grow Victoria and make it a more viable location for job creation and growth. I would be honored to play a more active role in the economic development of this town. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for not timing me. All right, with that, we will close citizens' communication and go into items with public hearings. Item C1.
Item C1 is the 2022 CDBG Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report of the CAPER, and this is item that is only on a public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will be covering our CDBG end-of-the-year Consolidated Annual Performance Report. Our 2022 Annual Action Plan ran from October 1st of 2022 to September 30th of 2023. What is our CAPER? It's our end-of-the-year report to discuss our progress that we made over the past year. The CAPER requires for us to have a public hearing, but does not require any action from council. I'm going to go over a little bit of what programs we had. As a reminder, our administration is capped at 20%. We had set a budget of $115,301. We stayed under our 20% cap and still had remaining funds of $53,054. So those funds will be reprogrammed at a later time, probably with next year's annual action plan. We still have open our affordable housing, which helps first-time homebuyers with down payment and closing costs. We've set to help 2. We've only helped 1 so far. That program is kind of the unicorn where they have to be able to qualify for a mortgage but still be under that moderate income limit. So we are still keeping that one open with $5,000 still in that balance. Our demolition program, we have demolished 4 substandard structures. That program is going to be ongoing. We're still accepting applications. So for our public facility projects, we have completed all of them except for the Victoria Housing Authority. They have started as of last week. We hope to have that completed by the end of Plan Year 23 for us. For our prior year, we also had the affordable owner-occupied housing. We have helped 5 households. We still have remaining funds of $48,365.61. We are in the review process of some applications we have that we are combining with our current 23 funds. So we hope to get that program completed as well at the beginning of next year when we get those applications reviewed. Our roof rehab, we went ahead and finally completed that. We helped 3 households with new roofs. Our 21, 20, and 2019 demolition programs are all still open. We have done a total of 3 substandard structures for our 21 year, 3 for our 2020, and 5 for our 2019. Those remain open. We are constantly accepting new applicants for that program. One of our ongoing projects from prior year is our perpetual help home. We have finally got that program off and running. We are pending a draw for $71,000, so they still have a remaining balance of $24,000 that needs to be spent. That should be completing by the end of Plan Year 23 as well. This is kind of some of our progress photos. We have our demolition and clearance. You can kind of see the clutter of the house. The house was leaning, and the bottom picture there is where we have cleared it out completely. On the left, the owner occupied. This was a disabled citizen who needed a walk-in shower. She had fallen multiple times trying to get in and out of her tub, so our funds were able to help her with that and provide the hand railings. So as a reminder, our public service agency programs are capped at 15%. They had proposed to only assist 210 individuals. They exceeded that by actually assisting 309 individuals with their programs. We did have a little bit remaining funds left over from the United Way program. They cannot carry those funds over. Those are limited to that year. So those funds will also be reprogrammed next year into eligible programs such as public facility demolition or home rehab. Some important dates are our public comment period. It ended on December 15th. As of now, we did not receive any written comments. For the purpose of the CAPER, they have to be written, but we didn't receive any, nor did we receive any phone calls or emails. Today is our public hearing. The deadline is set by statute, which is to be submitted on December 29th. We plan to actually submit this Friday, the 22nd. I'm open to any questions.
No questions? Thank you, Ms. Menchaca. All right, at this time, we'll call a public hearing on item C1. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this item, please step forward to the microphone. Seeing no one rise up, we will close the public hearing and go to item C2.
Item C2 is an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the FY24 budget in amount of $210,651.52 to cover the cost of a dump truck for the Public Works Utility Division and the cost of the mayoral election.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're presenting an amendment to the fiscal 24 budget, which totals just over $210,000. The first item is for the mayoral election that will be occurring this February. The $60,000 would cover that cost plus a potential runoff. The fiscal 24 original budget already included $60,000 for the regular election that's occurring this year, so there's no effect on that. And then the second item is for the purchase of a dump truck for Public Works. This was an item that was actually budgeted in the 23 budget. They were unable to find a replacement unit. So the year ended and those funds went back into working capital for the funds. So we're bringing this back now because they haven't been able to find a replacement unit, and the condition of the dump truck just kind of necessitated actually getting it done as soon as possible. The reason that we have to amend two funds for the purchase of just one dump truck is our practice is to purchase and capitalize all of our vehicles within our Building and Equipment Services Fund. Once those units are received and paid for, they're then charged out to the user department. So in this case, the Water Wastewater Fund is the user department who is would just reimburse the Building and Equipment Services Fund for that purchase. But so if there's any other questions, I'll.
No, thank you. So at this time, we will open a public hearing on item C2. Anybody wishing to speak on this item, please come forward to the microphone. Seeing no one come up, we will close the public hearing and entertain any motions.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item C2. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Item D1 is the adoption of minutes of the regular meeting held on December 5th, 2023, and the special work session held on December 8th, 2023. Item D2 is a resolution authorizing the execution of the election services contract with Victoria County Elections Administrator for the administration of city elections. Item D3 is a resolution approving the TCEQ annual water system fee for the city's public water system in the amount of $60,995.20. Item D4 is a resolution approving the first contract renewal for mowing and maintenance of Evergreen Cemetery with WCD Enterprises LLC in the amount of $56,388. Item D5 is a resolution approving an agreement with Act Zero Incorporated for their managed detection and response solution through reseller Strike Security Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $66,000. And item D6 is a resolution approving a contract with Schrader Refrigeration Company Incorporated for the replacement of 4 HVAC systems in the amount of $92,683.50.
I'll move for approval of the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E1.
Item E1 is a resolution appointing or reappointing members to the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation Board of Directors.
This one, right? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution before you tonight will appoint 3 members to, or reappoint or appoint 3 members to the Victoria Sales Tax Department Development Corporation Board of Directors. The board members do serve 2-year terms. The mayor does serve the duration of his term, and the directors all serve 2-year terms that are staggered, and they may not serve more than 3 consecutive terms. Former board members do have to abstain from serving for 1 year past their expiration date, and then partial terms are counted as one of the terms if there's more than a year left on the term when they're appointed. So the current board members include Bill Blanchard, Russell Dempsey, Casey Cullen, J.P. Hull, Councilman Mark Lofgren, Councilman Dwayne Crocker, and Mayor Jeff Bachnight. So one of the 3 appointments must be held by a council member this cycle. So Councilman Lofgren has expressed a desire to be reappointed and is eligible for reappointment. We did get a reappointment request from Russell Dempsey as well. His application was included in the packet as well. He has expressed a desire to be reappointed and is eligible for reappointment. And then we did receive applications from Sherry McShaffrey, Suzette Henry, M. Stephen Rogers for consideration. We do have 2 citizen appointments to do from those 4 applicants, and the terms would end on December 31st of 2025. For voting, I guess the first question I have is if you would like to reappoint Councilman Lofgren to his position.
I would.
Okay, so it looks like there's consensus to that. So the second part of this is there are ballots placed on the dais before the meeting that include your names because you cannot vote by secret ballot. The ballots will be in my office for review if anyone would like to review them. And I would ask you at this time to circle the name of 2 individuals that you would like to appoint to those 2 citizen positions. And I'll come around and get the ballots. Okay, it looks like we had two clear winners. So in the resolution, the names of Sherry McShaffrey and Russell Dempsey will be entered into the resolution along with Councilman Loughran's name to be reappointed. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hilbert.
I would like to make that motion, and I would like to thank everybody that applied and ask you to keep applying because we continue to fill spots, and I'm very impressed with the quality of our applicants.
I will second the motion and Ms. Scott's comment.
Thank you.
Probably the wrong place for it. Thank you.
Got a motion and a second to approve Sherry McShaffrey, Russell Dempsey, and Councilman Loughran. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E2.
Item E2 is a resolution approving a renewal contract with Sun Life Financial for stop-loss insurance in an amount of $845,790.
Good evening, council. I first just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to do professional development, and thank you, city manager, for your support as well. That was a long 2 years, but I'm glad it's done. Tonight, we just bring forth a contract for our stop loss. It's that time every year where we have our locked-in partners search the market for us and bring forward our best deal. We do have a locked-in representative in the audience. Our team member Lisa has come down from Houston. She's a senior vice president, with Locked-in, so she's here to answer any questions you might have as well. I don't have a formal presentation, but I'll entertain any questions. But I did want to draw your attention to the Ames item, and again, this year, renewing with our current carrier, Sun Life Financial. There is a 17% increase, but that is a negotiated rate with Locked-in's help. They've negotiated that down from their 31% increase they initially quoted us, as well as some of the other carriers that you might have as well. So any questions that you might have, we'll be glad to answer them.
Good. Everybody good? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Martha Johnny.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. De La Garza. Got a motion and a second to approve item E2. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E3.
Item E3 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Alliance Transportation Group, LLC, for the development of the Victoria MPO's 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan in the amount of $204,000.
Good evening, Council. I don't really have a presentation over Alliance or why we should choose them for the MTP. We have contracted them in the past to do previous MTPs and the Surfer Master Plan, and we're very happy with their work, so we're very happy. But Jesus did ask that I give Council an overview of what the Metropolitan Transportation Plan is and how that process works. So my presentation is completely tailored to the MTP development process. So first, I'd like to say that this is a mandated plan. The federal government gives us a grant and says, this is how you spend the money you need to perform these activities. And one of those activities is our long-range plan that we update every 5 years. They also tell us a lot of how we're going to develop this plan. So a lot of what we do is structured in either authorization bills or code of federal regulations. But we start with a visioning process, go through needs assessment, systems level analysis, coordination with local plans and programs, do a fiscal analysis and constraint analysis, and then selection of the proposed projects is the overall planning process for a metropolitan transportation plan. And so what does that really look like? So we start with guiding the plan by creating a temporary technical advisory committee. So large MPOs that are made up of many counties have a lot of county judges or commissioners or are elected officials on their policy advisory board, and they don't really have room on those boards to have the technical experts in the room, the engineers and transportation planners. And so your large MPOs will have both a standing policy committee and a technical advisory committee. We are lucky in that we're small and then we have enough seats in our policy board to have both the transportation experts plus the policymakers, the elected officials, both on our policy board. So we don't have a long-term or our permanent technical advisory committee. But because the development of the MTP is so data-driven and mandated by lots of federal rules, we need a lot more of that technical expertise in the form of engineers. So we stand up every 5 years. How we did it with the last one, and we're recommending to follow the same process. We stand up a temporary technical advisory committee that will have the policy board finalize in January. But it historically consists of, real estate experts, as many engineers in town as we can get to serve on it. This board does a lot of work, a lot of dry, painful work, quite honestly. Some of these meetings are very long where, I'll give you an example. So the TTAC's responsibility is to attend the meetings, assist in the development of the project selection weights. So that's probably the most painful task out of the entire MTP. Reviews the project submissions, and then makes the final recommendations to the policy committee. And in that, they're also conducting transportation criteria ranking exercises multiple times, providing insight into the community's trends and priorities, and then scoring and evaluating those projects that do go in the MTP. So for our 2045 visioning process, which we plan, like I said, to carry forth with just a few tweaks, into the 2050 process, they focused on reviewing locally generated plans and information, lots of local expertise and knowledge from our TTAC members that are, in, like I said, development sectors or engineers doing a lot of projects in Victoria County. We also have one-on-one meetings. So part of this council is definitely a stakeholder, and what we'll be doing differently this year is probably having one-on-one stakeholder meetings like we do for the community development block grant process. That's a small change, and that we'll be reaching out to all of y'all to have individual stakeholder meetings for the MTP process. And then gathering community needs and values. So I keep alluding to that criteria, the weighting criteria. So out of all the input that we receive, the TTAC committee is responsible for creating that vision and saying these are the most important types of factors when we are considering road projects. So this is a screenshot from our 2045. We actually used a TxDOT development software called Decision Lens. So those ranks we put them all into the Decision Lens and they spit out the ranks based off the voting, and this goes on multiple times. But really what's important is because before you even talk about a project, before you say, we need, a new flyover, 59, you have to set your weights and you have to say, these are the types of projects that we want, or these are the evaluation criteria that we're going to evaluate projects on and rank them. So out of the 2045 project evaluation criteria, these were the 16 ranks in their ranking order. So as you can see, safety was the #1 ranking criteria in the 2045, and I imagine safety is always going to rank very highly in the MTP process. But you can see a lot of the other ranks were really high, and when it comes to economic development or just moving traffic and goods through our community. We also have to take into account federal performance measures. These are the federal performance measures that they mandate us to consider. And so we have our own performance measures for Victoria County for each of these priority or criteria. So then once we've set our vision and we're saying these are the weights, then we build our projects. So it starts with a project call. People submit projects. The TTAC then reviews those projects against that criteria. If you have a project that's very near and dear and we rank it against the criteria and it does not rank highly, then we have to go back and change the project. There's some part of that project that is not meeting the vision that we set, and so you don't change your visioning criteria, you change that project by, say, we want to reduce capacity or reduce congestion. We would maybe add a lane to that project and then resubmit that project into the criteria and see then how it ranks out. So these were the projects that ended up being ranked out of the 2045, so our current MTP. You can see the I-69 main lane project, improve safety and really increase economic development opportunities. So I-69 was a huge theme. Now, of course, we can't pay for all of I-69 with the allotment our MPO receives in Category 2 funds. So we only put $5 million because we know that I-69 is going to be special funding allocated, as we've seen it elsewhere where it's being developed out. But our commitment of saying, yes, it's our number one project and we're putting money to it, hopefully, that speaks to the commission when they're doing those special funding projects. Then you see the list of other projects. We also then reevaluated projects that had not been completed in our 2040 MTP against the criteria and the vision that was set. And these were the projects from the 2040 that were carried forward. And some of them had some tweaks or changes out of that visioning process between the 2040 MTP and the 2045 MTP. And for example, number 5, the port overpass at FM 1432, that project actually carried over from the 2035 MTP, but as the port is still developing and not really sure of what their long-term transportation needs are, it's really a placeholder because that light could move to a couple of different connections for them. And we just are keeping it in as a placeholder to provide that flexibility so we have the funds to pull that trigger if they say we need an overpass here. So then after the call for projects, those are the projects that were evaluated. They were evaluated against that visioning, and then we got a list of these 11 projects. So you can see some of those projects that were on the 2040, they're still not built. And for example, the FM 236 widening project, it's currently in development, it's been obligated, but I say that in transportation planning is a very slow, purposeful project. The way the federal government has mandated you follow this process through the MTP and TIP and just the entire planning process, it does mean that all the transportation projects have to be very intentional. There is one caveat to that. Safety funds, when we're not spending Category 2 funds. TxDOT has, I think, like 15 categories of funds. But safety funds is the one category of funding that can accelerate a project. It's like the ambulance chasing or running to the scene. And I think we have 3 very significant safety projects that if you have been paying attention to transportation over the last decade or think, wow, that project went in really fast. One of them is the overpass at Nursery, lightning speed, but it was due to some fatalities and safety funds. Houston Highway Boulevard, the median on Houston Highway, and then the Telfiner widening project. All 3 of those went at lightning speed because they had dedicated safety funds. So other than that, transportation planning is actually meant to be very purposeful and methodical. So after we evaluate we get our list, then we have to run it against a fiscal constraints and analysis because we have a budget. Good news is from our 2040 to our 2045 to now, we were projected to receive 67 million over the long term, and we've actually received more money. There's been a lot more appropriations. And so this is what our budget looks in the implementation near term, medium term, long term. So you can see our TIP is our implementation. Those are projects that are about to be let. Then you have the state TIP and the UTP, Unified Transportation Plan. This goes out through 2029, and then our MTP is our long term, and the next one will go to 2050. And then you end up with a final list of projects. And as you can see from this, the yellow highlighted projects are ones that have been completed or programmed. And so if they're programmed, that means TxDOT is designing them right now. As soon as they finish designing them, then they can go to let and they will be constructed. As you know, I-69 main lane project is really a placeholder. We just really want to let TxDOT know that we, at any time, they can, fund additional discretionary funds and take us into, being a highway that meets all federal guidelines to become an interstate. The Ball Airport Extension underpass, that is going to necessitate a conversation with council. If we move up that project into a more short-term or near-term, then we need to have discussions with council on the capital improvement plan as far as connecting, Tropical to that overpass to relieve some of that West High School congestion. The Loop 463 frontage road turnaround and frontage road extension is the Briggs Boulevard project. So as you know, Briggs Boulevard is very close to the railroad crossing and 87, and the frontage roads also narrow down and you lose a lane. So we're looking, TxDOT's hired a consultant to look at how much can we extend the frontage roads and then create maybe a one-way situation at Briggs. Because surprisingly, the crash data is really high at Briggs, but it doesn't qualify for safety funds because they're not serious or incapacitating injury type accidents, which is good. They're just more fender benders, but that still affects our road network, so we want to fix that. Sidewalks on Main Street, we're actually going to be talking at the next MPO if we want to move that up to more of a short-term project because of funding availability. FM 236 widening is underway, and then some other very much larger projects. 87 capacity corridor study is also a bit of a holdover. It was actually downgraded. The 2040 or 2035, and then it was downgraded, I believe, in 2040 MTP, actually showed widening 87 there, but you have the railroad on one side and high school, and it's already a very large roadway, so maybe that's not the best. And that was also at Eagle Ford height days. So that was downgraded in this last MTP. So if it's in the MTP, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be built. If it hasn't made it at the next MTP, these things get reevaluated and looked at again. And so this list may change from the 2045 MTP to the 2050 MTP. And so this is a map of all of our projects. So I know I really covered our 2045 MTP, but I think in covering that, it really kind of explains how that process played out. And we're going to be following essentially the same process for our 2050 MTP.
Can you go back to the slide that shows the tip, the UTP, and the, yes. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but in order for something to make the tip or make the UTP, it has to be in the MTP.
Yes, they all feed into each other.
And so this is why it's critical that council be more intimately involved with the development of the 2050 MTP, because in my conversations with council, unintentionally, I think historically there probably has been not enough communication between the council members and what the MPO is doing and the rest of council. And so I want to make sure that that's not, that's rectified going into the development of the 2050 MTP. Part of the reason why I asked Julie to go into a little bit greater detail here, because I want to make sure that everybody understands that the MTP is that critical document that has to truly contain what our priorities are. And we need to make sure that those projects are broad enough, if I can use that word, specific, but also broad enough to where funding becomes available, we can move up projects because we can qualify them and find a way to tie them to the MTP without having to amend the MTP. That's one of the challenges that we're having now that, to Julie's point, we received a greater allocation than we thought from the UTP. But things that we think are good ideas aren't necessarily in the MTP, so we can't just take advantage, at least in a quick manner, of these available funds. And so it's important that the MTP is truly all-inclusive of what, of course, the priorities are through the technical exercise that Julie explained, but at the end of the day, you're aware of it, so that when we bring things to you, you have greater appreciation for the why. You know, sidewalks on Main Street, for example, right? I mean, that's something that had been talked about, you know, and come out in different, you know, previous historical, you know, planning efforts, but we failed to truly connect the dots, staff truly failed in connecting those dots when we presented the sidewalks on Main Street, because we didn't do a good job of providing that context to you as to the reasoning for that. And so I want to prevent that moving forward. And so I expect that this is simply going to be one of several conversations and updates that we'll make sure we give council as this project unfolds to ensure more alignment than ever before as it relates to the new MTP.
There's going to be two key points for council in the development of the 2050 MTP, and that will be the one-on-one stakeholder meeting, so come prepared to talk about the transportation network and things that you see, and then the call for projects that you'd like to see happen.
Great.
What she's saying is, get whatever your priorities are, get a list of them and
We're thinking about
be
them.
prepared.
And we'll be also meeting with the county, because as you know, the MPO boundary is Victoria County.
Right.
You are talking about the 16 projects that you presented, right?
So those are already in our current MTP, so we will be creating a new list with this new planning effort for the 2050 MTP. So tonight's agenda item is actually just to approve the consultant to create a new document.
Yeah, so go back to the 2045 MTP, list of projects, the 11.
Oh, okay, 11, okay.
I guess maybe it was in a previous one then,
The
The
one that's
highlighted
highlighted
ones?
that shows,
the median.
There.
In
so
2040?
that's done. The
I know.
highlighted.
Oh, okay.
But my point is that the median project made it onto an MTP, which the MTP is approved by the MPO. I'm not sure that comes to council.
No.
And so when, you know, there was a lot of conversations going on about the medians, who's responsible for the medians and that kind of thing. Well, the medians made the MTP that was approved by our local MPO. And so that's another example of why it's important that all of council is aware of the projects that are in line to make the MTP.
That's also why we have a little bit extra money, and not a lot, but because the majority of the Houston Highway median project was pulled out and funded with safety funds, then that freed up the budget in the MTP.
Could you go back to the slide with the weights on it? Because I think it's important that,
Yes, so projects,
and you made the point that if a project doesn't fit, you figure out a way to, like, safety is always on there. Safety is the biggest weight, so if you can make a project have a big safety concern, it will go to the top of the list. So it's important to know that.
Do they go back and evaluate those that had moved to the top of the list or were listed on there for safety reasons? And did they actually improve safety?
so I think for the medians, it's a little premature. We probably need to wait a couple of years, but we, if you remember when we were doing the Navarro median, there was a 40% drop in crashes from when the median that was installed from the loop out to Walmart was installed. Over the 5-year period before and 5-year period after, it was a 36% reduction in crashes. So yes, we will evaluate, but we need a few more years of data.
Yeah, because I think the preliminary data we got when Navarro median was put in, the rest of it, we actually saw increased numbers. So I'm waiting for a bigger data set on that.
Yeah, because during construction, that also can skew your numbers.
And then I'm worried that Houston Highway, while there are a number of fatalities there, the behavior in the area by HEB has not changed. And so I don't know that the median or even the light that we invested in is actually doing anything. But, I mean, thankfully, we have not had any fatalities there. But I would like to see, you know,
We'll
we
continue
capture
to
that
look at it,
data.
definitely. And then, of course, the nursery overpass, we have not had any.
Right. That was a
Fatalities.
good location for it. was a good deal. All right, thank you. Any-
So moved. I missed the whole thing, but,
So you approve, your motion is to approve item E3,
right.
and we got a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. E4.
Item E4 is a resolution approving a contract amendment with Hinojosa Art LLC for the Martin De Leon and Patricia De La Garza statue project to allow for an additional incremental payment of $40,000 for sculpture design and production services.
All right. Thank you, council, for your time this evening. So I have a brief presentation on just the progress of our Martin De Leon and Patricia De La Garza statue project and a request that we received from the artist Armando and his son, David Hinojosa. So Armando is currently finalizing details on the figures. I myself went down to Laredo in October and went to his studio in Blanche De Leon. Miss Blanche De Leon was also there attending a Hispanic genealogy conference. So we saw the progress on the statue, which I can say looks incredible right now. It will actually be going to the foundry in January. I just spoke to David a little earlier this week, but it is on schedule for the February 2024 completion. And we are working through Monuments of Victoria. We have a contract with them, and they're currently building the granite base for the project. So when I went to Laredo, David asked me if an additional payment was possible. I had told him that as the contract was structured, it currently allows up to $200,000 in payments, and then the final $100,000 is payable at the completion of the project. That is how the contract is currently structured. So just to clarify, we're not asking for the contract to be increased from $300,000 to $340,000. That's not what we're asking this evening. We're just asking that that additional payment of $40,000 be made available by making an amendment to the contract. They are requesting it due to unforeseen expenses, materials, and casting. That was a quote from an email I had with David. And another quote was that this is the first time in 55 years they've had to amend a contract due to materials going up several times the price. The clay has been finished and has been approved by the De Leon family. The sculptures are ready to go to the foundry in Bulverde. I'll be attending those pouring sessions as well, and they are scheduled to finish on time. These are the most recent images from David that he sent me a few weeks ago. You can see the on the breast there of Martin De Leon, the cattle brand E. You can see Patricia. There's been a lot of more fine details added since I've been in October. And there will be, and you see where they're clasping hands, there will be a cane added there as well. So a lot of amazing detail on these statues. The progress is going along very well. And we are considering allowing an additional $40,000 payment to him, and then the final $60,000 will be payable upon the completion of the project. And I can answer any questions you have at this time.
Any questions? Just to reiterate, we're not going up on the price of the statues. It's just a early payment on the final 100,000, 40,000 remaining.
40,000 of that, yes.
60,000.
Yeah.
And then 60.
And we will have the statue in February.
Yes.
Good work, Joel. Very good work.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve item E4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E5, we're going to pull, and we're going to city manager's report. And I will remind everybody that there are 15 minutes on your presentations for the city manager's reports.
We meet again.
Surprise.
Well, Mayor, thank you all for your, council, thank you for your time. I'm going to do a brief presentation on our fiscal year 2023 annual report. I have some very exciting figures to share with you all and updates on projects and what we're doing in the CVB these days. You can see that is a picture of our myself and my staff enjoying the holidays. That's actually one of the Christmas displays. You may be seeing those downtown, snowmen and large reindeer and things of this sort that families have been enjoying. We purchased a couple more of those and put those around downtown this year. But you have myself, and then from left to right, Elizabeth Tice, our assistant director, who's just been doing a fantastic job. Nancy Britton, our marketing manager, who is just killing it on social media. We've been doing so fantastic there. And then Bridget Postel, who is our welcoming face in the Visitor Center. I know council's received several kudos from residents on her services there that she provides in the Visitor Center. So we market Victoria as an overnight destination to a number of markets. We surface many groups. Liz and Bridget work together very closely on that. And we work to develop the tourism assets that we have here in our community. Just a little breakdown of how the presentation is going to flow tonight. Our hotel occupancy rates are holding solid. You can see they've pretty much hovered around the low 60s. We did have a little bit of a dip this last year, but looking to recover with that, with our bicentennial year, with our heavy marketing that we're going to be doing throughout the year. There are a lot of great events lined up. I can talk to those a little more later. But typically our strongest nights are your Monday through Thursday, but we do have some very, very strong events as well. I can tell you that, we receive weekly star reports, and we see weekends like the Memorial Weekend Bash where we have up in the high 80s or low 90s in terms of occupancy. So there is a huge impact for us on events on weekends. Average daily rate, we are at a very reasonable rate, and this makes us attractive as a destination for groups, meetings, sports. We receive a quarterly report from our partners at the Texas Hotel Lodging Association, and the average daily rates in Austin are $160, $130 in San Antonio, $115 in Houston. So this does make us competitive as a sports tourism destination. You're thinking of budget-minded travelers, families. So as we grow our sports tourism efforts, that is going to be a big part of our selling point, is that you can find a very nice, affordable room in Victoria for a little over $80. Total hotel room nights, we calculate these by looking at our weekly star reports. We have 27 hotels and motels in Victoria. 18 of those do report to the star reports. They pull the information. Those are flagged properties. A lot of them are very nice tourist quality hotels. So we take the number of hotel rooms that have reported for that night. Liz does a great job on this, very painstaking. We look at the number of hotel rooms that have reported for that night, times it by the occupancy rate for that night, and get a rough estimate of how many hotel rooms are being filled in our community. So like I said, with the occupancy rate, we've been pretty steady. You only see the dip there in the COVID years, and this is going to be something that we continue to do to provide some numbers for how our hotels are performing in Victoria. Website visits, we had a banner year, broke the record again for annual visitation in fiscal year 23, over 132,000. Our most popular page by far is our events calendar. We like to brag that we think we're the best events calendar in Victoria for people to find out what's going on. Also very popular is our dining listings, and even some individual events are in our top visited pages, like the Memorial Weekend Bash and Cinco de Mayo. So Tejano music concerts are a big draw for Victoria, and we see that in our website visitation. Same thing with Facebook reach, over 6,300,000 visits or people reached in our fiscal year 23. So phenomenal returns there. Nancy doing a great job with our social media marketing. We have a local partnership with Building Brands Marketing. They produce 20 posts for a month for a fee, and you can see there those returns. We go to conferences and they tell us, well, if you're not paying, boosting every post you do, you're wasting your time. We kind of scratch our heads because ours do really well organically because of what Building Brands does and the graphics they're able to get. It saves our staff immense time. All we do is really tell them what we want to focus on for that day, and they'll go out and get it. And most of our successful posts are small businesses. You see the Waterwell Cafe there, the Andastoria Wines. We frequently, several times a week, feature small businesses, and those do the best, and we're going to continue doing that. Visitor center visits took a little bit of a dip in fiscal year 23, but have still rebounded from the COVID years. We're still exploring the possibility of a new visitor center. It's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. We might see higher visitor center numbers if we had a more visible visitor center somewhere downtown that could be close to events. So it is still something that we're exploring.
And accessible, open on the weekends.
Accessible, open on the weekends, evenings, that sort of thing. Right now, we're stuck to an 8 to 5 schedule, Monday through Friday at our visitor center. Travel information lead requests, these are dipping, and I think they're going to continue to probably stay low. These are paper requests for printed materials. You see our website visitations go up, our Facebook, people are just getting their information digitally now. We're still going to continue to do this. We get these through magazine ads or our partnership with tourtexas.com. But it just shows the changing the tide when it comes to print versus digital, the importance of digital advertising. Our email marketing, Nancy does a wonderful job with these. We have a monthly, we had been doing mostly weekly up until recently. We've been doing a monthly topical email, a weekly topical email. Now it's monthly. Same thing with the events calendar, the monthly events calendar, because we noticed after a while we were almost sending out too many emails. Our open rate was going down pretty precipitously. So Nancy switched that to a monthly topical and a monthly events calendar. We've seen those opens go up by several hundred now. One of the things I'm most proud of for our staff this past year in our Tourism Advisory Board was the overhaul to the Hot Funds Awards program. We work closely with our Hot Funds Awards subcommittee of our Tourism Advisory Board. For the first time ever, we kind of limited it, folks, on how many room nights they produced. If you recall, we had them split into two different groups, Group 1 and Group 2. Group 1 was could be for-profit or nonprofit were events. Group 2 was nonprofits, had to be based around arts or historical preservation and promotion. I'm happy to say that 9 of the 10 in Group 1, it had to be the top, to be eligible, you had to be a top 10 room night generator. 9 of those were returning awardees, and all of them got more money than the year before. So one of the directives from council was to make it worth the while of these applicants, and we did that with these new process. It was a hard decision to tell some people no based on room nights, but you see the results in that. That's a picture right there of the Hot Rod Tour of Texas. That was a new applicant and one of our biggest room night generators at well over 200 room nights. They were, I believe, number 3 in terms of room nights. So those folks are getting rewarded appropriately for what they're producing in our community. Of course, working hard throughout this year on Bicentennial 2024, we had our branding as well as the De Leon statue. The historic street name signage, you can actually see several of those going up now already towards the south part of the grid down there. Murray Street, Murray Manchola. It's very exciting. We did a press release on that today, and that project is already getting off the ground. All of y'all should have some Bicentennial enamel pins at your seat on the dais, as well as some stickers. So we'll be producing more merchandise. Purchased a time capsule. We're working, starting beginning of the year, to have items and community input on what to put in those. The Bicentennial Ball, hope you're all very excited about that. I want to shout out to Keisha Smith, who's been doing a fantastic job leading that, and I've been assisting with that, and the committee that y'all all appointed have been doing such a wonderful job helping us. Live entertainment, great food. It's going to be a great way to cap off a day of fun in Victoria. In a few minutes, I'll be introducing Daryl Whitworth, Man Media. We completed our tourism branding project. They came in January, had a fantastic time in our community. We sent online surveys to over almost 200 contacts. There was a lot of effort to get the public involved and our tourism partners involved. We've been working throughout the summer on logos and final revisions to that. And I'll let Daryl do even a better job explaining it here in a few minutes. Our sports tourism continues to flourish. Alex and Liz, Alex, our sports tourism manager, and Liz, my assistant director, have a great partnership, work together closely, meet several times a week. You see events like our Fast Pitch Tournament, which brings in well over 60 teams. You're talking probably 100 room nights from those kind of events. We had a boxing tournament that had over 50 last November. And then the AJGA, that was a new event, produced about 150 room nights, and disc golf continues to do very good as well. That was a picture there from the Victoria Open. They're a Hot Funds awardee, and they produced about 120 room nights. Back to our music friendly. We are expanding that, meeting with our advisory board regularly. We have Liz leads that advisory board, have a musicians meetup, and had a musicians meetup in August, so networking opportunities. We're going to have another one in January. We booked and paid for the entertainment for the parking lot party series, which we felt was very important with the plaza being closed for a while, to have that to help support that summer concert series, which drew very well and brought a lot of people into those businesses and retail locations and bars and such during the summer months, which activity can be hard sometimes to get people to come out, especially during the summer. Our use of our bandwango, our technology, we actually got 2 awards in the TACVB Destination Excellence Awards, one for the You Love Shopping Victoria and one for our Tacos and Margs trail. So 2 very fun trails. And then we have done the You Love Shopping Victoria again, just wrapping up this week. We did a birding I Spy trail, which was a lot of fun throughout the summer, had several hundred check-ins on that. And we also have an arts trail to support our arts venues and public art, like the Peaches and murals around downtown and that sort of thing. So we're working with Bandwango again to do an original town site tour for our bicentennial, which is going to launch in the springtime. Upcoming initiatives, we'll be working very hard on our bicentennial, launching our tourism rebrand, trying to make new connections with events. We're sponsoring the Comic-Con, which is going to be coming back. A lot of excitement about that. Supporting the Art Walk and what Crossroads Art House does downtown, the Warriors Weekend, as well as the Livestock Show. I'll probably get an email tomorrow from Airbnb, because every time apparently you mention short-term rental compliance, they have a technology that I mentioned it to y'all at the budget workshops, and I got an email like 2 days later. So apparently they're out there listening. Working on our tourism ambassador program, launching that this year, having Nancy with some ideas of tourism, regional tourism collaborations, looking at things like ranching history and cattle history with places like Cuero or Goliad. And then again, exploring the opportunities, possibility of a new visitor center. We're still holding that out there. And I can answer any questions you have at this time.
On the Facebook
Yes, sir.
hits, you have 6 million. How many are unique visitors?
So that is unique visitors. That's a conservative number. That's a reach. So there's impressions, which is like, I think, over 10 million. So that's the reach is a person. Impressions is how many times that person could be getting hit multiple times. So I tend to use a more conservative number when I'm using reach.
All right. You good? Okay. All right. Well,
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Joe. All right.
Joe, you want to introduce the next topic? All right.
Pull up a chair here. Well, this evening we have a very exciting presentation for y'all. It's been a very long process. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of folks at the city who've been just y'all support in helping us get this off the ground. Input from Jesus, as well as Ashley Streville, our communications director, my staff, the Main Street program, Danielle Williams, Keisha Smith. We had a lot of folks who helped work on this project. And of course, the wonderful work that Madden Media has done. So we will be unveiling the results of our tourism branding study. And I will let Daryl Whitworth from Madden Media take it away.
Thank you, Joel. That's your slide. Excellent. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jesus, good to see you again, not on a video call. It is my pleasure to be here before you this evening to unveil the new tourism branding and logos for the City of Victoria. Just to give you a little bit of background, personally, I live in Fredericksburg and have spent almost 27 years in the tourism industry, marketing Fredericksburg for 15 plus, and then working for Madden Media the last 11. For those of you not familiar with our company, we're a nationwide destination marketing agency. Started 41 years ago by Kevin and Jill Madden in Tucson. We now have over 200 staff scattered throughout the country. Well, it'll be 200 by the end of January that we would keep hiring. And we specialize in tourism and economic development marketing. So tonight, I'm going to run through a little bit of the process we've done. It has been a bit of a extended process, but when you're doing something like this, we want to make sure we get it right. We get the input, we get the data, and we get everything so that we're bringing you the most efficient and enlightening way to present Victoria going forward. So starting out, this is kind of the timeline we went. I actually had the pleasure of standing before you about 11 months ago and came over and presented what we were going to do. You were kind enough to award us a contract. Since that time frame, we've had an ongoing process. We did take one little sidestep there that Joel mentioned, and that was the bicentennial branding and logo that we did for y'all. So that was taken in the spring of this year. We jumped back into all the research data and everything that we needed, as well as surveys, focus groups, et cetera, to get all of the good information that we could from people who visit Victoria, those who live here, and get their feedback. Now, I'm not going to have you read through all this, but just so you know, this is a snippet of the brand data that we brought and the visitor data that we brought in May and presented to Joel, his team, Jesus, and everybody who was involved with it that he shared. Just to give you an idea, some of this we tracked their devices. We found where they went here in town, whether it was to the shopping area or to the outdoors area. We found out how often they were coming, where they were coming from. 86% of your visitors come from Texas. Of that percentage, about a fourth of those come from the Houston area, some from San Antonio, et cetera. So it was important that we understand who is truly visiting Victoria. One thing too, when we're doing a branding study, we also are going to look at the honest truth of what we want to do. We want to know why they're coming, what they're doing. And candidly, a lot of the people that come through Victoria are passing through on their way to the coast. And it is a pass-through city. So that's one of the things we took into account as we started looking ahead at how we could begin positioning Victoria to be a destination of leisure and increase the weekend bookings that Joel was speaking of. So from what we did, we had 6 different video focus groups, and we had over 500 different folks who were interviewed online and surveys, et cetera, that we sent out. We gathered as much information as we could about your core and secondary markets. We found out what people said was good about Victoria. And I had the opportunity to sit in on many of those focus groups, and it was rather interesting to hear what they had to share about Victoria, because when you're living here, and the folks that y'all were selected for us and shared with us, they were very candid. They told us the wonderful things they loved about Victoria, why they would never leave. They also told us about a few of the warts along the way, but we also have to include those in what we're doing and moving forward. We identified your primary and secondary value propositions as to why someone might want to come to Victoria from a leisure. And we found out why people chose to come to Victoria. We gathered suggestions from all of these folks and kind of got a brand voice that we would use going forward for both visual and branding, how we'd want to position the community going forward. Not going to have you read all of these, but just to give you an idea, this is a lot of what we used in the background data as far as what Victoria brought forward. It's a small town feel where the residents enjoyed it. There's a lot of them said we moved back here from the larger cities. It has the best of both worlds, a small town charm, a lot of big city culture and community. One thing that I learned, and I'm a 5th generation Texan, there's a lot more Texas independence here in Victoria than I realized, and I think a lot of people do not realize that either. That is key in what we're looking at going forward. There's a significant number of family-owned businesses. Y'all are a small town business, or small business town. One of the things we brought forward as we started talking about Victoria is how the existing logo looked, what people would like to see different. Moving over there to the other side, folks wanted to see a brighter, more engaging color palette to kind of hearken to the Hispanic heritage. I will say that was one of the most interesting things in the focus groups that came out, was there was a general consensus amongst everyone we spoke to of the residents here in Victoria that there was a significant importance of the Hispanic heritage here in your community, yet it was often glossed over and overlooked. And we heard that consistently from a lot of people. So we took a lot of this into account. And then we also started looking at a lot of the things we see around here to use for inspiration. The colorful shops and restaurants, the brands that came from Martin de Leon, what we saw in the outdoors, the Guadalupe River, the outdoor activities we went to, and then the heritage and history, your historic buildings and everything like that. Basically, we took all of that information together. We took what people told us about Victoria, what our data showed, what we were looking to do, and the ultimate goal of beginning to position Victoria as a leisure destination for travelers from throughout Texas and beyond. And with that, we came up with the following brand that we'd like to share with you all tonight. This is the new Discover Victoria Texas branding. This is geared as the logo and tagline for this convention visitor going forward. Everything you see in this brand has something about Victoria incorporated in it. If you look at the font, the heritage font speaks to the ranching heritage of the community. If you look at the flower, the Indian blankets that cover the area. The heart speaks to 2 different things. The heart of South Texas. Victoria, we heard in a lot of our discussions, was the heart of South Texas. We also heard that one of the things that people love most about Victoria was the warm invitation they felt when they visited here, when they came here. So that's where your heart comes from in that. We also have two different components, discovervictoriatexas.com. So if they're using them in ads and print ads, they can have that. Another thing too, hearkening to the Hispanic heritage, the true to Tejas, they're on the side. The word discover, if you're in the tourism industry, you see a lot of people use visit, experience, explore. We felt that with such a large percentage of your visitors actually passing through Victoria and not taking the time to stop and discover what they're missing as they went through, discover was an important word that we would use to entice people to come here. Now, there's more to this than just a simple logo, because we want to make sure that Joel and his team and anybody going forward in tourism marketing are armed with what they need to move forward. And therefore, we produced a 32-page brand guideline. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing tonight, but I do want to hit a few of the high points for you. One thing, we do have some brand standards that are going to be key. And those are actually down there a little bit at your bottom, your brand pillars. And, excuse me here, I know you can't read them there, but the small town charm. There's a lot of big city culture and amenities here that make it important for Victoria. The True to Tejas, being founded by Martin de Leon 200 years ago. The Under the Oaks, those are the green spaces, your outdoors, your Guadalupe River. Your cultural hub of South Texas. We discovered there's a lot of art activity here, not only visual arts, but the performing arts, et cetera. Things that people can come and enjoy on the weekends to get away from the big cities. It is truly the heart of Texas independence. You may not have realized that before, or y'all might have, but as we went through the investigative process, we realized Victoria played a much larger role than many people originally realized. And your shop and dine in independent Victoria. Those are the pillars that we want to use going forward in promoting the town. We also, as you look up there, your tagline, True to Tejas. We want to make sure that we are paying an homage to the Hispanic heritage. If you'll notice a lot of the colors and all in the different logos, they're very bright, they're engaging. They're going to stand out in a print publication or in an advertisement in a banner ad on the website. We have different ways that you can utilize merchandising. If you look at the top right there, Discover Victoria, if you want to do it just as like the flower, so it stands out among itself in a smaller area. Victex, something that's a little more casual, might be more suitable for social media, et cetera. Different things as far as how your naming and all will be done and how you can use it. One of the things that's very important in tourism marketing is if you're a marketing agency coming in or you're doing the promotion for a destination, your brand guidelines, this booklet that is going to be presented, or that has already been presented to the team, is how anyone can come in and make sure that you are staying on the brand message for the community so that everything looks the same, so that you're communicating the same ideas, the same taglines, and everything moving forward. So this is something that's very key, that if they hire a new marketing agency or somebody like that, they can share this with their social media person. This will then move forward and allow them to make sure that all communications going forward will look similar for what they're doing here for Victoria. We also want to make sure that we give you a color palette to use, because you always want to stay consistent in your colors. We did pick a few more colors because we feel the vibrancy of the community is something that needs to be communicated going forward. So we took inspiration from different things that we found around town in this, and we came up with some what we consider appropriate colors here. Now, all these have the PMS color and all that, so somebody can duplicate it, but we felt that like Gulf Gold, Coastal Bend Canary, De Leon Lapis, things like that were appropriate for the community, so that these are the kind of colors that Joel and his marketing team can share and make sure that everybody is on the same page going forward when they're promoting Victoria. We also have some ideas as to how this can be used moving forward in marketing, putting it on swag, things that might give away at trade shows or for groups that are coming in, the car clubs, the sports groups, et cetera. And we also incorporated various brand patterns and graphic elements so that as a creative team can be moving forward, this can make more engaging ads, icons that you can use on the website, different ways so that any type of communication coming out of here move forward with the same look, feel, colors, and then like the iconography at the bottom, this is great because it allows you to give sort of a more fun way of communicating the shopping, the outdoors, the heritage, and everything like that. So this is something that we suggest too that they use as they're going forward on marketing. And more ways that can be fun, from a website to brochures to keychains, everything else. Potential letterhead utilizing all of the colors, the iconography, and then the color palettes. So just a few examples of how we might utilize this brand going forward. You know, for example, the True to Tejas cap down below, bringing in part of the tagline so that it's speaking of Victoria. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick presentation. Happy to field any questions at this time.
I know it's a lot, but we wanted to get it in front of you to obviously get you exposed to it, get your input, obviously you were interviewed as part of the process, provided input then, but this obviously is the first exposure to what this, brand could look like. And really the only way that I felt was that we could get the input needed from you was to just bring it to you. Because it can be very difficult, to solicit input otherwise until we put it out there and test it and get reactions from it. And so that's what we're trying to achieve, with tonight.
So I can share with you that part of the process was, and part of our contractual obligations, which we actually over-delivered, was we wanted to give a significant number of different options when we came to the logo. So I have another screen here that unfortunately can't really share with y'all, but it's ones that were showed with Joel and Jesus and the folks who were involved with this that Joel mentioned being part of the process along the way. And there are, there's 10, 11, probably about 17 different ones that you can. Let's see, I gotta get the other side here. 17 different logos that were shown, and that people we worked through and did various iterations of them and everything. So as you can see, we went through a pretty extensive process of creativity trying to bring different options. And this was actually part of the process we went through, bringing multiple logos and all and having them work through on the group. So as you can see, the one at the bottom is kind of the one that bottom left is where we ended up at. I know it's much like watching sausage being made, Mayor, so forgive me there.
No, I think mine's the only screen that didn't come up on.
No, dude. Well, you're the mayor. We don't want you to know what's going on. We're keep you in the dark. So, but it's a very extensive process. We, like I said, we had numerous things that we did from a branding study perspective, where we looked at where people were coming from, what they were doing, and all of that. Because a lot of what we did with this, even though it comes out as a creative aspect, everything we do in this branding process is based on data. And then there's some art that comes in the end and what we're wanting to communicate.
So I'm trying to remember, because Joel gave a presentation just before this one. It's the same words, right? It was Discover Victoria, Texas?
Yes, ma'am. We went through, we had multiple options that we gave to there as far as the verbiage that we'd want to, whether it be explore, whether it be experience, visit, something along that line.
So we do have the consistency
Yes, ma'am.
for
That's
anything
why
that
we're
we
sticking
built
with
up. But this is brighter colors, and it is a different pattern, but it's the same words, the same
Yes,
message.
ma'am. Yes, everything that we suggest going forward will be discovered.
Currently, we're Explore Victoria.
I think that's what Ms. Scott is asking. Is that
Yes,
currently we're
so currently we're Explore Victoria.
Okay, I guess as
Yeah,
soon as
so-
I saw this, I thought that's what I'd been seeing.
No,
That's
so
what I was
currently we're
asking.
Explore Victoria, and we're suggesting changing it to Discover Victoria as part of a new opportunity to message and encouraging people to come discover what Victoria has to offer.
The overall goal of this basically is to begin to put Victoria in a new light to potential visitors. And this is something that was started, 15, 16 months ago through the bid process and everything. They selected bids from multiple companies throughout Texas and beyond, and we were the ones who won that bid process.
Yeah.
And it's been a fairly extensive program, not only from the team being in town here and myself coming in January, and then the amount of communications, not only with locals, but reaching out to people who had come to Victoria and what their perceptions were.
And to be clear, we're solely talking about the branding for our CVB. Nothing would change with the City of Victoria Star V logo. That's completely separate, got nothing to do with this. So I just want to make that clear.
If I could address what Jesus is speaking of there. In the tourism marketing world and doing what we do, destination marketing, it is typically not a best practice to have the same brand, logo, and messaging for the city as you do for the destination marketing organization. The reality is you are speaking to two entirely different audiences. As a city, you are speaking to your ratepayers, your citizens, your taxpayers, those who expect you to keep their lights on and their water running. On a destination marketing side, we are speaking to the people who do not live there, We want to inspire them to come to your community, and we want to enhance economic development through tourism. So we are looking at two different messages, two different looks in that respect. Not saying you can't have the same thing, but it is typically a best practice for the city's audience and messaging, or the city's messaging to be separate from the CVB's messaging, because you have two completely different audiences.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any way we can get that report electronically sent to us?
This, yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Not the presentation tonight.
The book.
The branding,
branding study.
The branding one, the one that has all the colors and everything going forward?
Yeah, with all the information in it.
Yeah, you mean
Yes.
you mean the results of the, yeah. Yes.
Multiple presentations.
Yeah, we've
We
got.
can, yes.
Everything y'all need.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for presenting it. It's very, it
Different.
looks very interesting.
Different.
Yeah,
Different.
It's colorful.
Different.
I like the colors, and yes,
I think it has a lot of potential,
yes, it does.
No, I agree. I agree.
a lot of potential.
All right,
That hot pink looks good.
all right. Final city manager report. Ms. Toto, Municipal Court 2023 Annual Report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am excited tonight to be presenting the 2023 Fiscal Year Municipal Court Annual Report. This is our team here. We did hire our most recent team member in September, so I was excited to complete our team and bring Monica on board. A couple of our staff members did complete certification programs and leadership programs in fiscal year 23, including David, who got his level 2 certification, and Maria Bell, who got her level 3 certification and completed 2 leadership programs. And our staff always does continue to do continuing education programs that are offered. So the primary goals for the Municipal Court Department is to continue to provide access to justice in creative ways, such as alternate dockets like the one you see here at Midcoast Family Services, continuing community outreach efforts. This here is Judge Heinold in the middle with the Vine School students at a career day event. And then our staff development, and that's Maria Bell, who got her level 3 certification this summer. These are just some images of various events that we did throughout the year. We did a total of 20 events, either ones we hosted ourselves, ones we did with other city departments, such as the Keep Victoria Beautiful program and the summer reading program at the library. The car seat program, we did a couple events ourselves, and we also partnered with a couple of agencies this year. So one of the images you'll see us at the Victoria Housing Authority. We hosted a car seat event there, and we also partnered with the Children's Discovery Museum to have a car seat event with them as well. This is something we continue to strive for, and we nearly doubled our number of events that we either attended or hosted in this past year. So we really strive to continue to make this an ongoing effort. One of the programs that Judge Heinold helped to spearhead is the Court to Recovery program, which is a partnership with Billy T. Catan. This program actually began in May, so the numbers you see on the screen are from participants that were in the program between May, or technically June through September. So the Court to Recovery program is a court-ordered program for those charged with substance-related violations. They have to complete 4 hours of education with Billy T. Catan to help provide them with the tools and resources they need to improve their lives. So you'll see that we had 20 attendees during that time frame. The classes began in June, and that's a total of 72 hours of class time. Additionally, they are also court-ordered to be on a deferred disposition, which helps to keep that violation off of their record. And of those that were referred to the program, we had an 80% success rate of successful compliance. And so to date, from October through December, we have had an additional about 14 attendees complete the classes. And so we do find it to be a successful partnership with Billy T. Catan, and I do continue to see that being a good program that our court is over.
This is an overview of our outreach dockets. Just as a reminder, this actually began in mid-year of fiscal year '22. So we had a full year of the program this past fiscal year, and we partnered with all the organizations you see here on the screen to host a outreach docket monthly. These are dockets that are held on-site at these locations. These are folks that generally do not have the transportation or means to get to us, so we go to them and help them to try and resolve those cases. Through the 12 dockets we held over the year, we had 259 people appear at these, which did generate about 240 hours of staff time. Not only do we have staff on site at the docket itself, but we have the staff remaining here at the office that's helping to process. As we are remote, it is a little bit more difficult to do that remotely. We also cleared 301 warrants as a result of this program. So it continues to be a success. And our most recent partnership in July was with the library. We found that to be a really great location to partner with. I know it's one of our own entities here within the city of Victoria, and that's going to be kind of our quarterly destination. They have some great spaces there that we've been able to utilize. So we've been there about 3 times already just this year. We also have the Juvenile Case Manager Program. So this is for our youthful offenders that are aged 10 to 16 years of age. We have found that oftentimes they have less opportunities to do community service to discharge their fines and costs. And so we have a staff member dedicated to coordinating efforts with various entities and other city departments to provide them with educational opportunities and community service. So Midcoast Family Services is the one that we have had the most interactions with. They've actually held 16 classes in this past fiscal year for our youthful folks. These classes cover a variety of topics, including anger management, substance abuse, things such as emotions and anxiety and things of that nature. So they've been beneficial for those folks, and it gives them an opportunity to get hours because our staff member is there to help supervise and ensure that they have that opportunity. Keep Victoria Beautiful continues to be a great partner with us when it comes to offering opportunities for community service. So there were 6 different times where our staff member serving in this role went out with our youthful folks to clean up the highway. Victoria Police Department has also offered a class that interacting with law enforcement. We held one with them in this past fiscal year. And then Victoria College and University of Houston, Victoria also have offered classes for our youthful folks on what they have to offer. So that helps to give them information they need. And those usually are court ordered, so it helps to ensure attendance and then also gives them credit towards their fines. They typically don't hold jobs at the age of 10 to 16, especially the 10 to 14-year-old range. The Child Safety Program continues to be a primary focus within our entity, within our department. So this is just a timeline of different milestone events that we had in this past year. So every October is when the awards are awarded to the grant awardees. So in October of this past fiscal year, we did have 4 grant awardees for that child safety grant that usually opens in August. In April, we held a class with Texas A&M AgriLife. They came here and held a safety class for parents and caregivers. And then the following days when we had our car seat event with the Victoria Housing Authority. In May, we also had another car seat event. So we partnered with the Children's Discovery Museum and held the event in their parking lot. And that seemed to be a very successful event as well. In June, we had 2 new technicians get certified, one within the police department and one within the municipal court staff that helped to add some additional staff back to not only our office, as we had a staff member leave us this past summer, but also an additional one for the police department as they also interact with folks that are improperly restrained. And then in September is traditionally Child Passenger Safety Awareness Week. There is a week dedicated just for those efforts. So we promoted through our social media different tips and tricks on how to properly use car seats. And we also held an event during that week as well. And so we had a total of 3 car seat events. I don't have the numbers right here in front of me, but I do know that we had just over 50 inspections over the year, and we continue to find on average, 2 out of 3 folks that come through do not have their children properly restrained. And so we do continue to utilize this program to help educate those that come through.
And this is an overview of some of our statistics. And so the numbers in black on the top row were greater than the numbers from the prior year, and the numbers in red on the bottom are decreases. The pre-trials is a little misleading. We actually had 2 less, but we generally, they're almost every other Thursday. We have about 3 of those a month. So that's not as much of a decrease. But these here just kind of show you that we do continue to have hearings and court dates and things of that nature, and what those numbers look like. And then this is an overview of where our cases come from. Again, the numbers here in red are those that were a decrease, and the numbers in black are either flat or an increase. The investigation reports, I feel there's a decrease there since the number of arrests were an increase. And so in those matters, we'll get a report from the police department. Oftentimes, those may have been something like a field release where they were not actually taken into custody, but there was an uptick in site arrests that we received within our court. Code enforcement numbers were flat. That number does include abatement warrants that we received and cases filed related to code enforcement. And then animal services was up by about 30%. And then looking forward, the juvenile case manager program is something we are going to need to continue to develop. There is new legislation that just went into effect. We have a year essentially to develop a juvenile diversion program beginning in January, and it will not be effective until January 1st of 2025. And so we will have to implement a juvenile youth diversion program for our more youthful folks. So we need to continue to evaluate that and expand our partnership so we can develop what that's going to look like. And continuing to utilize and maximize our efficiencies through uses of technology. I know James is probably tired of hearing from me, but I'm always looking for ways to improve what we do and the services we offer, and then continue to grow our community partnerships. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. You do a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Toda.
Thank you so
Appreciate it. That concludes the city manager reports, and we don't have a scheduled work session. We do have executive session. So we'll now recess into executive session. It's 6:41, and we will also take a 5-minute recess to clear the chamber.
Okay. The City Council will recess for executive session on the 19th day of December 2023 at 6:41 p.m. Subject matter is as follows: Texas Government Code 551.087, 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074.
BR 549.